I am here to share a bit of the legislative landscape before us. I think about when so many of us gathered last November at this annual meeting. And since then, the landscape has changed, hasn't it? In the Caribbean, the president is repeatedly murdering those he alleges are drug traffickers without evidence or trial, jury, or judgment, no matter constitutional or congressional authority. Simultaneously, those who have been tried and convicted for violently attempting to nullify and deny the people's vote in 2020, well, they get a pardon. When the court the White House to release congressionally approved food stamp money so people can eat in the midst of a government shutdown, the vice president essentially says, we don't have to listen to a federal judge. Littered around DC are our own stumbling stones, not the brass plates on the streets of Berlin that commemorate where Jews were taken by Nazis, but here they are printed black and white signs that read, ICE kidnapping happened here. This is the reality of living in the United States in 2025. It's hard to accept that this is where we are. There is no magic or quick fix. I find myself saying again and again, this is unprecedented. Anyone else? This is unprecedented. But what I realized is that this is unprecedented for me in my lifetime experience. Because I remember hearing something in the Bible about a pharaoh, an oppressive, unabashedly discriminatory king who, despite repeated lobby visits with the best talking points and strongest arguments, would not change his policy stance. I remember a King Jehoram who ruled at a particularly divisive and polarized time. The nation was politically fractured, and this egotistical ruler demanded absolute loyalty, eliminating all rivals, purging officials who were part of the last administration. In the book of Esther, Mordecai refused to bend his knee to Haman, infuriating Haman, who then tried to impale Mordecai and in retribution asserted a decree to destroy all of Mordecai's people. And then there's Nebuchadnezzar, that narcissistic, maniacal king who conducted mass deportations of the Israelites, lashed out at anyone who dared to oppose him or stand up to him. While so many of the people in his kingdom suffered from poverty and hunger, instead of ensuring SNAP benefits went out, he cared more about renovating the east wing of his palace. The landscape has changed, but it is not new. Shortly, you will be invited to go into breakout rooms. And you'll get to hear the specifics of what some of the different lobbying programs are focused on and how they are navigating this landscape. In FCNL's collective policy work, we've prioritized two major themes. It really revolves around Congress reasserting its Article 1 powers, war authority, and the power of the purse. As our friends at the Horizon Project say, authoritarianism is an upside-down triangle, held up by institutional pillars. Congress is one of the central pillars. Congress has the power and authority to hold the administration accountable. It is essential to our system of checks and balances. But right now, the majority is complicit. We need to knock down that complicity. And we do that through organizing, building broader coalitions, and strategic advocacy. For these members of Congress, complicity must become a liability for their own power, their own election. Of all the ways we need to be pushing back against authoritarianism, congressional advocacy and organizing is FCNL's sweet spot. We know how to do this. Power still comes in the form of money and people. We don't necessarily have a lot of money. We do have people. Across the country, our task is to build power by growing our partnerships and coalitions on the ground. This is a part of the evolution of FCNL. Decades ago, FCNL was a small team of lobbyists on the Hill. Then it became clear that wasn't enough. We needed to build a network of grassroots advocates across the country. And now, with over 135 advocacy teams in all 50 states and an impressive young adult network, we must continue to evolve. We have an incredible network of friends and friends of friends who know how to lobby. You know how to build relationships with your congressional offices. Now we need to take it to the next step and double down on the on-the-ground organizing to bring more people and build new partnerships in a way that will build real power. And we have to keep showing up. I have faith and hope. Because despite the external praise Republican members of Congress load onto Trump on the outside, there is a growing frustration and consternation as congressional powers are ignored, tariffs take their toll, SNAP recipients left in the cold, agricultural workers disappear, communities living in fear, falling numbers in the polls, growing discomfort in their souls. Cracks are forming, consciences are waking, energy is building. We have had 197 more lobby visits and 600 more people in lobby visits than at this point last year. We went from 4 to 10 FCNL campus chapters in less than a year. Just a few years ago, even questioning weapons sales to Israel was untouchable. In July, a record 27 senators voted for the joint resolution of disapproval, and we're going to keep notching up that number. Working with directly impacted partners and bipartisan champions in Congress, we finally saw the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act extended, bringing some justice to the victims of nuclear testing and uranium mining. Senator Fetterman changed his vote on the latest war powers resolution because all of you Pennsylvanians hammered the phones. When the letters DEI are scrutinized and racial justice polarized, the Truth and Healing Bill on Indian boarding schools continues to make progress in Congress. Virginia and New Jersey and California may have gotten the headlines on November 4, but the real story was in the small local elections across Georgia and Mississippi and Pennsylvania. Yes, the Bible tells us about the diabolical, maniacal, egotistical, narcissistical, but we cannot forget that in the face of Pharaoh, there was a Moses, a poor shepherd with a stutter, who answered the call of a burning bush to step up, advocate for freedom and justice, and when that was not granted, they orchestrated their own midterm elections, and Pharaoh lost his seat of power over the Jews. We must remember that in the face of Nebuchadnezzar, we have Daniel, who refused to be complicit, prophetically speaking truth to power. Haman failed to persecute the Jews because there was a woman named Esther who came out and spoke up, successfully, strategically advocated to the king that he needed to reclaim his authority and that it was not up to Haman to order lethal strikes and put a needed check on Haman's executive overreach. We are in it, my friends. The landscape has changed, but our story is far from complete. God is using us in this moment. This was not going to end with the shutdown. It does not end this weekend. It does not end next November or in 2028. This is an ongoing practice of our faith, fundamental to our faith, because we are a part of a greater story, shining a light on what this country can be, a nation where laws are consistently applied and not selectively enforced, where jobs pay enough to afford a decent housing and groceries, where a health diagnosis doesn't threaten bankruptcy, where Congress spends more energy protecting access to the ballot than billionaires' access to their wallets, where we honor the dignity of every person, regardless of nationality, disability, or political ideology, where public servants and public officials can speak their conscience and do their jobs without fear of retribution, where elected officials are no longer willing to sit by and deny but must profess and address the existential threat of climate change. where a sudden rise in masked faces on our streets come not from militarized immigration raids, but from children's Halloween parades, where honestly teaching our country's legacy of racism and discrimination is recognized as a necessary ingredient to becoming the society we claim we want to be. Our work is needed right now. Your voices are needed right now. Your advocacy is needed right now. We are called to enter history right now. We must meet this moment, bound together in a prophetic witness and spiritual calling, driving us unabashedly towards the world we seek.